Hello, my name is Adrian. A lot of you might know about me as being the GCSE English coach, but I wanted to step away from that and actually talk about something that is we all have, which is the stories of our life. This year is a big year for me. This is the year when I suddenly turn 70. Yeah, unbelievable that when you get to this point, you think about how many decades you've lived. And I was thinking about this. I was thinking that in 1956, which is 70 years ago, I was born, but I was born at a time of crisis where there was a real problem going on with the Suez Canal. And it was where the British and the French and the Israelis tried to reopen the canal because it was very important strategically. Now, fast forward to over 70 years on, and we have also a parallel situation in the Strait of Hormuz. And it just shows you that time, we should have learnt a lot of things, but by the time we still move on in our life, things happen. And I feel that I want to share my stories because I've not been somebody who just did one job all his life. I've been involved in many, many things, and I'm sure all of you, and I welcome everybody to share their experiences with me. So this channel is actually for everyone, anywhere, any culture, any sort of time, about their stories, because one thing we all have in common is our stories are unique. They're unique to us. And the more we learn about other people's stories, the more we learn about people. My life has been dedicated more to people than machines and anything else. I recently was watching about the fantastic David Attenborough, who has worked and still works at the age of 100. And there's me thinking, oh my goodness, I turned 70. Put you to shame. We are always all learning. Anyway, the gist of this today is that I'm going to do a number of videos that you can all share your experiences with. They'll be wide and extended. I'm going to start talking about my personal experience in the decade between 1956 and 1966, and lots of things happened in that decade, and there'll be people out there that can share their experiences in that decade that they remembered. But specifically, I want to talk about one very important thing that we all have to go through. It's our passage into education, and it was my first day at school. Now, luckily, the good news is I had an elder brother, and he was 2 years older than me, so he knew all the ropes. But me, I was green. I didn't know what was coming up. All I can remember is the way I dressed, and it was quite weird in a sense. I had school uniform with these shorts, and it was a time, obviously, when it was very cold. When I first day at school in September, it was a cold September. I remember it well. It was in a place called Ilfracombe in Devon. And I went to the local primary school, and what I was wearing was quite funny in itself. And when I look back at it, it was also quite ordered and structured, which was a good thing in lots of ways. So I would wear, my mum would knit me a hat, but it was a balaclava. But it wasn't a balaclava that really was cool. It was a balaclava that had an open face. So I looked a little bit like an alien with a funny hat on. And then I, over my uniform, which I would have a grey jumper and grey shorts, I wore what was called a black gabardine. Now, the black gabardine was waterproof. It wasn't particularly warm, but I over a period of time, I learned how this could be a fantastic way to be a superhero, because you could do up the top button on a gabardine and it became a cape. So you could become Superman, Batman, whoever you wanted to. But the main purpose of this today is to talk about the first thing that I remembered very clearly, and it is a funny story. It was about school dinners. Obviously, this was a complete revelation. Being in the UK, these have become infamous over time, and you will have experiences that you want to share. But I remember mine vividly. I remember sitting with the rows of faces of eager children waiting to be served their lunch. And in that time, you were given the lunch. You didn't go up and get it. You actually were given it, and it was everybody had the same thing, and even the pudding was the same. So this was an experience beyond an experience. And I remember that it was a traditional type of sort of gravy with chicken, and maybe not even chicken, actually. It was probably some minced beef or something, but with mashed potato. I remember that. But the best bit, because I seem to have developed a sweet tooth straight away, was the pudding. And it was a classic in the UK history. It was jam roly-poly. The jam roly-poly with heaps of custard. And of course, this was the pinnacle moment. And when I was given this plate, I loved the whole thing. Now, of course, what I didn't expect was the next thing. I'd eaten my lunch, I'd had my pudding, and then what happened? The dinner ladies then said, there are seconds for anybody who want them. And my hand went up immediately. I wanted to have some more jam roly-poly. And I watched, and there's this majestic but monstrous, tall dinner lady who looked like Trunchbull in Matilda, if you ever have seen the film of Matilda. And she was massive. And she walked in a big steps across to another bench where somebody was sitting. And I noticed that this boy had a bowl, and she picked his bowl up and she said, this is for anyone who wants to eat it. At that time, my hand was well and truly out and down. I wanted to hide under the table, but she came towards me and said, there you go, don't waste any. So I had to have and eat seconds, but it was somebody else who'd eaten it. So that was my very first experience of school that I vividly remember and will never forget. And there must be people out there, you out there, actually believing that you had similar situations with your school dinners wherever you are. So look, this is an introduction, and I've got many stories about many things, and I'm going to talk about the era of 1956 to 66. And the next one I will be looking at are pivotal dates that took place in that decade that a lot of us will remember, but all things that could have changed the world. Anyway, thank you so much, and please make comments. This is the first time I have done this outside of my usual remit, where I'm being a teacher and a tutor, etc., etc. This is me outside of the classroom. This is Adrian beyond the classroom. Thank you very much.